Hey everyone, this is Lindsay and my podcast is Unfilter Caregiver. I'm the good, the bad, and the ugly of home health. I'm here to educate people on, topics with home health, et cetera, et cetera. This topic this week is going to really hit home because it's personal. And maybe some of you guys can identify. When I was 25 years old, we got the most horrible news in my family. And maybe some of you guys can relate, obviously. My mother was 52 years old and had pancreatic cancer, we found out. And I'm going to tell you the story of how we found out and what we kind of went through as a family. I'm also going to explain to you guys something about being Jewish and being Ashkenazi Jewish. I'm from Del Mar in San Diego. And every weekend, my parents would come down from Riverside because I was originally from there, but we had a house in Del Mar. And every Friday night, we would go out for dinner. And my grandmother was in Tucson, and she would come down like once every 3 months. But my aunt hated to fly. So picture this. I come into the house, see my mom and dad, excited to see them. We always go out to this dinner place to get a salad and a pizza. My grandmother is in the kitchen and my aunt is there. So once again, I told you my grandma would come, once or twice, every few months, but my aunt hated to fly. Now, mind you, in our family, in our lineage, we have cancer. So the first thing I said was not, hi, how are you, but who has cancer? It just hit me like a rock. I don't know why I thought this, but I did. And my grandmother had tears in her eyes, and so did my aunt. And they said, Lindsay, go upstairs. Now I'm like, oh my God. Mind you, this is 28 years ago, and the only cancer I knew of was breast cancer. I didn't know of pancreatic cancer. No one was talking about that. I go upstairs. I see my father, a criminal defense lawyer, who's such a strong man, in a fetal position crying. And I'm like, who has cancer? What's going on here? And my dad's like, mommy has cancer. And I'm like, what kind of cancer? Breast cancer? And he's like, no, unfortunately, pancreatic cancer. And I'm like, what does that mean? And my mom and dad looked at me and they said, Lindsay, I only have a year to live. It was like somebody hit me with 500 bricks in my face. Like, can you imagine? I know people that have experienced this, they can imagine. They understand what I'm going through. But I was 25 years old. My mom was my rock. My dad was my rock. And now I'm finding out my mom is going to die in a year, right? And once again, this was 28 years ago. So I want to bring the thing in with Jewish and being Ashkenazi Jewish. So being Ashkenazi Jewish means that you come from Northern Europe, your lineage, like, Poland, Russia, Hungary, all of those things. My family came from Russia and Poland. I'm considered Ashkenazi Jewish. Now there's Sephardic Jews as well, and they come from like Morocco, Israel, Spain, Italy. So they don't carry a certain gene called the BRCA gene. Sephardic Jews don't, but Ashkenazi Jews do. Now, mind you, this was, I said, 28 years ago. They didn't have the testing for that. But down the line and down the years, my aunts got tested and they had the BRCA gene. What does BRCA gene do? What can it do? It can give you breast cancer, colon cancer, and pancreatic cancer. So my mom probably had the BRCA gene, right? Because her two sisters tested for it. My brother tested for it. He was negative. I never tested for it. My personal reasons, I didn't want to know. I just get tested for all of my other important tests like mammograms and all that stuff, yearly. I just didn't want to know. People might say, hey, that's irresponsible, whatever. I don't have kids. It's what I wanted to do and how I felt about it. So like I said, my mom probably carried the BRCA gene. So, going through that whole year, as people know, when they have a loved one that's going to die in a matter of months, every holiday, every moment, you just know in your heart is the last. And my mom was incredible. My mom prepared us. She prepared us for when she was going to die. She made baby blankets for my brother and I, for when we had children. She wrote us journals about, every situation she was going through, every thought process while she was dying. And, I want to tell you something. It's horrible. My mom even told me this, that I made a lot of the situations horrible for her. The last Thanksgivings, the last Hanukkahs, the last Christmases, the last birthdays. Because every holiday that came about, I just cried and freaked out because deep down, I knew this was my mom's last.
this was our family's last situation of, having my mom around. And she told me in my journal, she said, "Hey, Lindsay, I love you. You're my precious doll baby, but you've ruined a few of my last holidays." And that killed me. That hurt me inside, because I know I did that. I was really young. I think I was still 25. Maybe some people think that's adulthood. In my family and the way that I interacted with my family, I was still a baby. I was still my mom's baby. I was still my dad's baby. And knowing that I was going to lose my mom, who was my rock, and be kind of just with my father and my brother, it was hard because my father and I had a really hard relationship growing up. And knowing I was losing my mom and having just to deal with my dad, there was just so many things going on in my brain, like losing my mom, being with my dad, being alone, having to deal with a future without a mom. There was just so many things that went through my mind. And I'm telling you guys this story because I know there's so many people out there that can relate. You know, they have had the most, they've had a parent that is so healthy, like my mom. She was a vegetarian. She hardly drank at all. She ran 5 miles a morning, and then we get a death sentence. And like, I know when I talk to people, because I have a company called Finding Home Care, and I'm a concierge caregiver recruitment company. I'm in San Diego, but I handle the whole U.S. with 144 5-star reviews. So check me out on Finding Home Care LLC on Google. But I know I talk to people all the time that say, "Hey, Lindsay, we just left the hospital and we just got a death sentence." Like that came out of nowhere. Like my mom was coughing for 2 weeks and now she has lung cancer and it's spread to her bones. Like I hear these conversations every day. So I know people out there can relate and they have these kinds of stories. And I guess I wanted to put this podcast out there for this one because, I talk about home health and I talk about situations that I've been in with clients and with caregivers, and I'm a caregiver myself. So I kind of give you guys stories of situations I've been in with families. But this is my story. And, you know, I can see my mom smile. I can smell her. I can hear her. I can look at her, and it's like yesterday. And it makes me teary eyed. It makes me teary eyed that like I had the most wonderful mom in the world, and she was taken at a really young age. And you know, she wasn't taken from me; she was taken from my father. She lost her life at 52. She didn't get to retire. She didn't get to watch my brother or me walk down the aisle. She didn't get to see my brother's son, Benji, who would have been her grandson, or Savannah. She didn't get to see my brother's wife. She didn't get to see my husband, who I'm divorced with now, but was a wonderful guy at the time. She didn't get to see my new boyfriend, who's the love of my life. My mom was robbed of a life. My family was robbed of a life at a very, very short time period. 52 years old. I guess I'm kind of funny and out there and loud. I have feelings too. I have emotions. I've been through some really hard times and I've conquered. And I want to tell you guys, if you can conquer too, reach out to your family, reach out to your loved ones who are going through something like this. Some people don't know how to react, and don't be upset with them. They just don't know. It's not that they don't love you or care. They just don't know how to deal with a situation when someone's sick. Um, there's groups out there that my father went to a hospice bereavement counseling group, and he met my stepmother, Beth, who's a wonderful stepmom to my family. Um, there's groups out there and there's places you can reach out to, your churches, your temples. Um, so anyway, this is Lindsay Polis, Unfiltered Caregiver. I'm sorry this was kind of depressing, but I wanted to just put out there that, I'm just like you guys. I've had these things happen in my life too, and I can relate. So check out my podcast on Spotify and Apple Music. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye.